Guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Charles from the channel Books on Stereo, and I have a really special guest with you, another author interview. I have the Dylan Allan. If you haven't read Dylan Allan's books, like you have seen them everywhere. You've seen the Rivers Wild collection. The covers are beautiful, and if you haven't read them, I
Oh,
need you to go and read them
amazing.
because we are about to get into spoiler territory. The books have been out for a little bit of time, so like you have been warned. But
Yes,
first off, how are you
yes.
doing today, Dylan?
I am great. Charles, how are you? So nice to be here with you. Thank you for
Yeah,
having me.
I'm so happy to have you on my channel. I absolutely love these books. And I wanted to know,
Oh,
how did you
thank
get
you.
started writing romance?
Well, 4 years ago, I was turning 40 and I had wanted to write a book my whole life. I mean, my whole, like, from the time I was 13, I had this story, these three sisters, the series I wanted to write. And I just decided it was going to be my birthday present to myself about 6 months before. I was a very avid romance reader. Like I devoured romance voraciously every week, and I'd read everything. And I started a blog, just a small one, nothing major, but I developed some author friendships. And so when I decided to do it, I asked, like, for guidance, and they gave me some, and I wrote my book. And I had a job. I'm a lawyer by profession, by work. That's what I did for between 2002 until 2017, when I left my job to write full time, be a romance author full time, or 2018 to write full time. But yeah, it started on a sort of a bucket list, checking the box, and I found an audience and found a passion and found that I could actually, like, make a living doing it. And so I jumped in both feet and I have never looked back. Here I am, 4 years later, 11 books written, 10 published, and really, with like countless more inside of me. Wish I could write faster.
Yeah, that's so amazing. I'm so happy that
Yeah.
you decided to write full time because if you just said like I'm just going to quit writing, I'd be like, Dylan, like you have more books I need you to
Oh,
write, and then you could take your break.
yes.
So like I need like just give me a book every year. It doesn't have to be on audio.
Oh,
I can wait for the
oh,
audio. You can just release it,
oh,
send it to
bless you.
me so
Bless
I can
you.
read it because I
Oh.
absolutely love your stories. They're so well constructed with characters. Like one of the
Mhm.
things that I love when I can do a romance novel is when I remember all the characters. I'm like, oh, what about this story? What about this character? I need to know about this character. And I find that
Yeah.
you don't find that a lot in a ton of romances where sometimes the characters are like character A. Sometimes I usually refer to
Yeah.
characters when I talk to them, I'm like heroine or hero in the
Yes.
novel. I'm just like, because I
Right.
don't remember their
Because you can't.
names.
The names, right, right. Well, yeah, I mean, but there are different kind of, they're all, that's what's so great about this genre, is that with whatever you are in the mood for, you can find. Because there's some days that's just what you need. It's just a little, like a bag of potato chips. It's delicious
Yep.
and wonderful, but has its place, you know what I mean, in your
Hmm.
diet. And I think and I'm so, I know my books are a little bit more than potatoes, like they're, a little bit more of a meal, and not always like what you're in the mood for. But I mean, I think that I hope that when you pick up any of my books, you will read them, and even if you might not have been in the mood before, you will fall into the mood because you'll fall into the story. And I just try to I'm an entertainer, is how I see myself.
Hmm.
I want to entertain people and, leave you satisfied at the end, and, tell a great story that you want to read again, that you'll think about again. So yeah,
Yeah,
thank you. I'm so glad.
and I completely agree. I would say The Sound of Temptation is one book I need to go back and actually reread because I was reading it and I was like, why is this so angsty from you, Dylan? I
I
was reading, I was like, so
know.
where did this
I
story idea
know.
come from? Because it's like a little bit like kind of like two families pitted against each other, but like a rock star romance. But it gets so much more angsty than I
I
realized going into it.
know,
And
I know,
I
I
was like,
know, I
Dylan, like this
know.
is like
Where did
weighing me
that come
down.
from? Well, listen, I know it's so heavy. Listen, so this is the thing. I hope that the payoff was worth
Hmm.
the hurt, because I know that there is like there's a good stretch of time in that story where you're just like, beside yourself worry. I also hope that y'all know this is a romance. So it is going to end
Hmm.
happily, and it's a romance. It's not like, they're not. It's not going to be. they're not going to be, that's not going to be, I will find a way. But I also did not know how I'd find a way. And that idea came from, it wasn't always going to be that they were like that was the connection. The connection, it wasn't going to be that. But then I was talking to my cousin, and it was going to be that Carter was coming back to town to look for his mom. That was always the thing. But it wasn't going to be that connection. And then I was talking to my cousin, who was so crazy. He was probably drunk. I shouldn't have, but he was like, I've got it. I've got it. How about if instead that like somehow you make it so they think that they have some sort of relation.
Because I was wondering
Great
how you were going to
idea.
get
I
around
must have been
that.
drunk too. I must have been drunk too because I was like, yeah. Oh my God, that's how I was. He is such a bad influence on me because I was like, yeah, and then I wrote it, and then I was like, this is absolutely crazy. Why did I think this is a good idea? But then I couldn't change it because that was their story, was that they had to go through this moment because they both really needed to understand. Carter needed to understand that family has nothing to do with blood. Like, that this, and she also needed to understand that she was something more than just like her. They both had a lesson to learn that they needed to learn in a way that they would never forget, so they could actually go off and be happy together. Because these are two people who otherwise, would really need years of therapy before they could be in a
They
healthy
would.
relationship because they've been through a lot. So I needed to show that these people really, that they got it, because you can go through trauma, and they both, and they both had, like, he went to rehab and she had a little support group, whatever. So they both had a little bit of help, but there's just not time for all. It was already so long, you know. But
Yeah.
I love Carter and Beth. I'm so happy I wrote their story, but I definitely feel like for me, it emptied me out too much in a way that I don't want to feel. I mean, I hope it was entertaining, but it took me 3 years to write it, really,
Oh,
and
really?
I mean, it took me a bit because it was a hard story. It was a hard story, and I fell out of love with Carter a couple times, and in the summer of 2020, as all I could see were white men on TV being hard, it was very hard for me to write a white man as a hero, which was like for real for like a few months. I was like, which is why that's when I changed the rest of his family, because I knew I wanted to write stories for his brother, for Jack. I wanted to write a story for Nadia and Hap, who, I don't know if you caught it, but Hap is Confidence's brother.
Yeah.
Right?
I
Okay,
caught that.
so
I
I
caught that.
want
I
to
was
write.
like,
Yes, I know, right? So I want to write their stories. I have to, so I was like, okay, so I need them to not be just Anglo-Saxon white males. So I made Penn black. I made his dad. So that made it so I can, when I write them later on, and then that also gave me a like a connection to him, because okay, I have a black mother too, so like I can then like get into his head again. It really, it took that, because I couldn't, for months I could not do anything with the story. I hope that's okay for me to say. I mean, I'm just being honest. It's true, because it was like, and I think as writers, we, people, the stories are entertainment, but they also come from me. I write with, with intention. I'm telling a story, so I have to want the happy ever after for the person. If I don't care, then I can't do it. So it took me a long
yeah.
time. I went through a cycle of writing and rewriting and pausing and stepping away. Um, I started writing it before I started writing The Legend, which was that
Oh,
month.
really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Because
I
like
know.
reading it, it was like compared to like The River's Wild gets crazy. That whole series gets a little bit crazy. But this one was just, there were some things I was like, how is
And-
Dylan gonna solve this? I was like, you get like 75%, and then you hit that twist, and you're like, what? I was like, and then you like leave me to like the last like 90%, and
Girl,
then you're
I
like,
know,
okay,
I
now
know.
it's time to solve it. I was like,
I
Dylan,
know,
what are you doing
trust.
to
I
me?
know, I know. But we solved it, right?
Yeah, the ending was worth it. I do have to say that. I was like,
I mean,
Ellen,
that
this might be the
concert
first
scene is
book I
so
may
great.
not like love by you, but I was like, I'm gonna trust you and get to the end. I was like, okay.
The
I was like,
the ending
the
was
ending
worth it.
saved
That
it.
concert. I
Hmm.
mean, come
I was like, it
on,
did it for me. I was like,
come on.
I was like,
Oh,
I don't know
wow,
where you were
yeah.
going with it, but I was like, at the end, I was like, okay, now I can go back and reread it. Now I
Okay.
know. Now that I know that the
Yeah, I
ending.
know. I know. Thank you so much for pushing through because I know, like, if you don't love angst, it might be hard. People who love angst, they're just like, this is rip
They
my
just like
soul
give it to me,
apart.
just
They
like
love
throw
it.
it at me.
But I am not, and I'm not an angst lover as a reader. And I don't know where that story came from. There's that story, the Sun and Her Star, which is not as angsty as this, but was my first real sort of like angst fest. And it was very, but it's also so such a great love. So have you read it?
No, I have
Apollo
the
and
audiobook. I have
Graham.
all your books on like
Oh
ebook and
yeah, that
audio.
audio.
I
Yeah,
just like want to save.
it's
I need some
so.
left over. I
If
need
you
some to
like,
go
you
back to.
said you like the childhood because they're childhood friends, and it
Hmm.
starts when she's 11 and he's 14, and the way they meet is so sweet. Oh my God, I love them. Apollo and Graham, and everybody thought when I first announced the characters' names, everybody thought it was an MM. They're like, "Is Apollo a man?" I'm like, "No, that's because it's a guy because it's the Greek god. It's a god's name, but
Hmm.
it's a girl, and her name has like she talks about because everybody, anyway, you'll love it when you read it. But if you love that, so they're young, and so it's very it's also very different. It's a
Hmm.
different kind of. It's not as safe as the Rivers Wild is a safe place. There,
Hmm.
these two people are gonna love you, but those books, it's more in line with the Sign of Temptation in terms of the angst and
Mm.
sort of the uncertainty because they go through a lot too, but it's worth it.
You
And
put
it's
your characters through
funny.
the ringer.
I do. It's
You do, but
fun. And then keep
your endings
saying,
make up for it so much. Like
okay.
the Sound Station ending, I was just like, oh, I was like
Oh,
that. I needed that ending because like I was about to message you. I'm like, Dylan, what are you doing in this book? I was like, this is
yeah,
so angsty. I'm
I
like,
know.
I'm reading this. I'm like, okay, okay, not another plot twist. What? I was like, it's like just talk to each other, just get
I
together
know.
already.
I know. I mean, but they tried. I feel like they tried. I
Hmm.
mean, in the
They
beginning,
tried.
they tried, and I mean, they were on their way. It was like such a rug pull, wasn't it, that moment? Because you were like, okay, here we go, finally. And
And then
then,
here comes the
right,
father. I'm like,
yes,
get out. I was
and
like,
the
get out. Like,
brother and yeah. I mean, that scene of the church, I cried when I wrote. I was so like, oh, poor Carter. I just wanted to just fall out. It took me a minute, Charles.
I was
I'm
like, and
sorry,
Beth,
y'all.
what she goes through with her father, and like especially early on in the book, you're like, whew, okay, oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that goes through a lot. Yeah, I know. Listen, you should have read the first iteration of it. It was it was even worse.
What?
I'll tell you about it one day. Like, when, if we ever get to a signing or something, we'll have a drink, and I'll tell you. You'll slap me. You'll probably be
I need to
like,
know that story.
you'll probably slap me in the middle, slap my drink out of my hand, or push me off the stool we're sitting on, or whatever. Like you, crazy woman. It's a mess. It really is. I'm such a mess. I was going through a lot. So that's
I was
how I
about to like
explain it.
when I was gonna write my review, I was like, who has heard Dylan when she wrote this book? Because like it's so
I know.
hard, it's so
I know.
angsty. It like hits
I
you in the
know. I
gut,
know.
but like the
Yeah.
ending, you pay it off. But I also want to talk about your Rivers Wild series, which is
Okay.
probably
Okay.
one of my favorite romance trilogies. So did you know
Really?
going into
Oh.
it that you knew like oh, for people who haven't read it, I'm gonna start spoiling it. So you have been warned, but did you already know what the Hayes twist, like his character, like his whole ancestry, did
Yes.
you know that going into the
Yes.
series?
Yes. I did. That was the whole. That's what I mean. Tina Wilde was the first, and I knew that she was gonna be the wife of the person who went and had a baby with like and sort of
Mm-hmm.
mixed who yes so
Mixed
yes I did
family.
know. I knew that Hayes was. I didn't know it would be Hayes. That's all.
Okay.
But I knew that twist was coming. I knew that was going to be the thing. I was inspired by a series I read by Julianne Long called Pennyroyal Green, where there's some it's a historical romance series. It's so fantastic. If you have not read it, start with What I Did for a Duke and get your whole life. It's amazing. But it inspired. It's these two families that sort of share, their neighbors
Mm-hmm.
and their rivals. but not for the reason anyone thinks, you know? And so,
Mm-hmm.
and that was like, and it's not the same reason, but it's something kind of similar. So I was inspired by that. So I knew, and I wanted, but I also wanted to write like a world that was as diverse as the world I live in is, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to write, that was really what made me decide to write a series first. Was I live in Houston, Texas, and it's for me, when I like, America's melting pot, but not really a melting pot, more like a mixing bowl of you
Yeah.
know,
Mm-hmm.
and I the romance I write, I write the rainbow, right? But I am Black,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm an immigrant. I'm from Ghana. I want to bring all of those things into my
Mm-hmm.
storytelling, and I wanted to create a world that was as mixed and diverse as the world I look around, and also that I don't see in a lot of the contemporary romances I read, which is fine. And but like, for me, it feels like a waste of my life experience to write
Mm-hmm.
stories that only show the same thing that everybody else is telling. It's like, what's the point of
Yeah.
me, of my voice, if that's what I'm going to do? So that was why Rivers Wild was born. And I when I started building it, I realized, God, there's so many potential stories here. There are all these different businesses and all
Mm-hmm.
these potentials for, like, I have these families. I have a whole family tree. I have a
Oh, okay.
website that I've been building, and I'm like, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm I really want to, and I want to, like, so it is for me where everything is going to lead, and I've written it so
Mm-hmm.
that I'm hoping all of my standalones so far will bring you back to Rivers Wild. So Dina, who is Beth's best friend, she is Tyson's love interest in the Daredevil. So
What?
we're yes, she works for Remy. I don't know if, like, in the book, in the Sun and Temptation, she's like working in Houston for this
Mm-hmm.
law firm, and that is um so she works, in
Oh.
the Daredevil, she's now fully working for Wild World and not just
Mm-hmm.
Remy anymore. But yeah,
Remy.
so I've tried to tie, the worlds, my books, together that way by cross-pollinating, I call it.
Oh, okay. Now I'm super hyped for the Daredevil. I was like, now
Yeah,
that you,
you're gonna love
I
Dina.
just love that
You're
so
gonna
much
love
when
Dina.
you can, when you write such, since you write such strong characters, when they do pop up, I'm
Oh.
like, oh, wait, this is person from, because I'm usually like a dodo. Like, you can like say, like, oh, this character was from this one.
Dodo.
I'm like, sometimes I'm like, wait, what, who was that character again? What book was that in? But like yours, I immediately go like, okay, this was this character. I know who this character is. Like, I have the whole family tree
Oh
built
yeah.
out. Like, I'm like, I have
Oh,
my own ideas of
I
like
love
where I
you,
want.
Charles.
I was like,
Oh, I
I,
love you. Thank you.
I was like, I have so many
Thank you
ideas.
so
I'm like, you
much.
can't stop with this world. Like, I need more. Like, even just like
Oh, so
subtle
tell me
hints.
what you want. Tell me who you want to see. I'd love to know.
Immediately when I read The Legacy, I wanted Gigi's story. I wanted
Okay. Okay, that
the
backstory. I'm
prequel
thinking
type
about doing it.
backstory and seeing like what
Yes.
kind of transpired
How?
there
Yes.
and see how
Yeah.
that came
Okay.
about.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a
Yeah.
book, right? I was like, that's a book right there. I
That could
immediately
be
was
the
like,
prequel. I'm thinking about writing a prequel for it. That would be that was before the legacy, to sort of show you. So yeah. Okay. All right. And Tyson, of course. But there are people I
Tyson.
want to write. So the next book, the next Rivers Wild book, is going to be the first one where the character is not a family member. And
Ooh.
yeah, but they live there. So
Mm-hmm.
you'll see the family. They're in the backgrounds, of course. But this will be a story. Oh, I don't know. I think it's my first secret baby story. I'm really nervous and excited
Okay, you
about
guys, write
I
that
swear.
down. We have a secret baby book coming.
I think so. I mean, so it's like secret baby, but the way I do it, like, it's gonna be how I do it. So
It's
it
gonna be
may be
good.
it may. I think so. I'm
It's
really
gonna be good.
excited about it.
I already like. I'm like you in the Jezebel. You managed to handle cheating, and that's usually like my hard red line. But it's like the way you set it up. I was like, oh my
Tell
goodness.
me
I was like,
what. So who cheated on? Because she cheated on her husband.
it's like, but the way like when you find out like Marcel's been basically cheating on her and has like a baby on the
Yeah,
way, and then you really
yeah. He
find
was
Regan as like
trash.
she's really trying to make her like the whole prequel setting up with her relationship with her grandfather. really kind
Yes,
of
yeah,
lended, and we really understood her when she got to that point. And you're like, yeah, I'm like, it didn't even cross my mind. I'm like, you're in a loveless marriage, like you're trapped, you're scared
yeah.
to
And
lose your kids, and he's
yes,
oh my. Towards the end, I was like, Remy, I'm
but
like, you're any one of these brothers. I'm like, someone needs to mess him up, like
I
for what
know,
he
I know,
did
I
to his wife. I
know,
was
I
like,
know. But she got him good. She got him with that video. That was
mm-hmm.
nice. Man, that was my favorite scene. That whole scene was so great to watch. And poor, but I felt so sorry for her when she's still trying to protect Stone and that
Mm-hmm.
conversation in the car with Remy. I just was like, oh, Reagan.
I love her conversation with Hayes, where Hayes knows, and Reagan's like,
Yes,
what the hell is he threatening me? Like she picks up on it
yes,
immediately, and
yes.
I'm
And
like,
she's not having it.
I was like,
And
Hayes, I was like, I used to like you, but then you tried to mess with Regan. I was like, okay, you need to check yourself.
I
I was
know.
like, you don't mess with
Hayes,
Regan.
I
I was like,
know.
I was like, Hayes, you better check yourself. I was like, you had your book, get out.
That was but you know what I love seeing Hayes. I love seeing him in that, like seeing that side of him because that's who he is. Like he is not he's soft for his woman, but he's not for anybody else, and I
No.
like that. I
Yeah.
like that. So and for his brothers, I mean, he also really, I mean, he
Mm-hmm.
loves his family, he loves his brothers. When you read The Gathering, the holiday novella, you'll get to see him again. It's so
I can't wait.
sweet. Oh my gosh, you'll love it. It's at the end of the Rivals, but the audio, I need to check. The audio should be out. It should be coming out.
Mm-hmm.
It's been done forever. I'm just waiting for ACX to approve it. But yeah, no, I love that world, and I love it's so it's so comfortable to be there and to write
Mm-hmm.
them and to write that mood because the Daredevil, most of it takes place in Paris, so
Mm-hmm.
you're only in
Oh,
Riverswald
for a
snatches.
little bit.
Yeah,
Oh,
yes, it's in
I'm so excited.
Paris. Yeah, it's very sexy, and Tyson is so. I mean,
I
I'm
just
in love with
love that.
him.
I love that family so much. Like, I'm
Me
sorry,
too.
Hayes and Stone. I'm like, y'all are good, but I was like, oh, Regan, just like that book. I did not expect that one to be as good as it was because I love the other ones. The
Yeah.
other ones were 5 out of 5, but then the
Oh, thank
Jezebel came
you.
along and I was like, oh my, like Stone is just
Yeah.
like, he's probably my
Yeah.
favorite hero out of the whole entire trilogy.
Oh, thank you.
Like
Yeah.
seeing him when he basically stabs the guy to
I
save
know.
Regan.
I know.
I was like,
He's
he's
saving
like,
her.
I
He
thought he was
doesn't
hurting
know
you.
what's
She's like, no, he wasn't hurting me.
no.
He's like,
No,
oh, so I
I
shouldn't have
know.
stabbed him.
That poor,
And the
but
way they
he was
reconnect in
not
the
sorry.
future,
I
he was
know.
not sorry at all. I was like,
He was not sorry at all. He's like, call the police. Let's do that. Why don't we? I love him. I love that whole scene. It's so great. I mean, it's because it's fun. I don't know where it came from. That's one of those things where it's like I read it. I'm like, I don't know where I thought of that or why I even thought of that being a scenario, but it was so funny. And then the when they reconnected him for the first time in the
when I read that, I was like, and she doesn't know who he is initially at that moment. I was like, what a reunion!
I know.
What a reunion! I was like,
What
I
a
loved it.
reunion. What a
I loved
reunion.
it
And it
so
was
much. Like he like had a crush on her still for that long, even though they've been apart. I was like, oh,
mhm.
I was like,
Yeah. I mean,
Stone.
it's like the one you never forget. And here
Mm-hmm.
she is, like just I don't know, I mean
like
he
that's probably my favorite. That's hands down my
oh
favorite out
thank
of the three.
you.
Like I love the other two.
Thank you.
Remy is a
Yeah.
close. Remy and Hayes are definitely duking it out in my mind. But I loved the meet cute in the with Hayes's book where
Yeah, in the
confidence
elevator.
when they're like, oh yeah, da da da, and he basically just like rips her a new one. She's like, excuse you, and then I love.
Okay, so can I tell y'all that actually is so that villa, my best friend got married there. I had just come back from that villa in Italy. That thing that happened to her where she almost fell, that that happens. I didn't fall off. I almost fell off. I let her fall all the way off. I, but that is a real place. I'll show you pictures. You should come. Are you my reader? I have a reader group on Facebook, and I post things like that there. You should because I know I've shared videos of that Cliff
Mhm.
and the real one. But it's real, and
Oh.
that whole and when I was at the wedding, at my friend's wedding,
Mhm.
which was so beautiful, and I was just thinking this would be, and that was one of, and my husband knows this if he watches it. I'm not, but that was the first time in my life since I've been married that a stranger, like a man, tried to pick me up. Like this guy, my friend's with her, like someone at the wedding, I almost like it was a very, I was like, you could totally see how two people can meet in this gorgeous setting and just sort of
Mhm.
like fall into something. And I was just sitting there thinking, oh, I can't wait. I was taking, really taking pictures of it, like breathing in and just remembering how it smelled, sitting in
Mhm.
rooms, like just closing my eyes and imagining them there. It was really great. It was wonderful to write. And Mexico in the Jezebel is one of the places my family, my husband and I, we bought a timeshare in Baja like
Oh.
years ago. So we used to go there,
Mhm.
but we haven't been because of COVID. We didn't go in
Mhm.
2020. We did. So I went in the I went in the Jezebel, and it was so nice. It was
Mhm.
so wonderful. I love to travel with my books. So,
Yeah, you definitely like a little international flair, and now we're going to Paris for your newest release. I'm like, you're gonna,
yeah.
I just expand the world. Like you can do whatever. You can do a reverse
Yes.
harem. You can do a menage. You can like you can just throw
So
everything
what's
in.
reverse harem? Reverse harem is what when does reverse harem have to be more than one person in the relationship?
It's like the best example I can think of is like Credence, where it's like one girl and she gets with each one of the guys in the family, but then only ends
Uh-huh.
up with one.
Okay,
That's
I
like
need to write that
I'm new
down.
to
I don't know. I
I'm new
haven't
to
read
them.
Credence. I haven't read. I don't. So because I thought, see, I'm such a, like I said, I'm a punk when it comes to angst, and anything more than two people in love, like in a serious way, is very uncomfortable sounding for me. But I want to give it a try because I think Lilac by BB Reed was supposed to be reverse harem as well. Is that right?
Oh, I think
And I
so.
might
I
just
think it
maybe I'll read
is.
that because I trust BB. I love her books. So.
Hmm.
Um, Okay, so reverse harem is one girl, she gets with all of them, but ends up with one.
Yeah.
Okay, all
That's
right.
like that's how I describe it. People may like watch this and go like, "You're wrong, Charles, for saying that," but
They
that's how
have
I
to, can
understand
it
it.
just be that they all like her, but she doesn't get with them, not completely,
It
but
can,
only gets with
yeah, it's like
one?
multiple love interests essentially for one heroine, and you don't know who
Oh,
she might end up with.
hmm.
If
Why
it's
don't you
not a love,
know? Is there not one that she has a partiality to?
it's like I was like in Credence, like you can't tell like which one of the three she's gonna end up with, so it's a little bit of a question.
Really?
Yeah, you really don't.
Oh,
Someone
oh,
spoiled it before going in. I was like, so then I was able to pick up on it more as I was reading it.
okay.
But yeah, you when you're reading, you don't actually know who is going to be the one that she ends up with, which I think is
Oh.
like, or like
That's
I've seen
interesting.
reverse
Okay,
parents
so
where like
I
they
so
just get
you
with
but you want me to
everyone.
write that in Rivers Wild? People might, that's, I don't know. I mean, I could write it if it's like, have you read Kristen Ashley's Dream Man series?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so I think it's called Dream Man, but the first book might be Dream. Maybe it's the first book. Anyway, it's one where it's like the girl, he's like, you're mine, babe. Like you wrote a Kristen Ashley's book. So the guys are just like complete alphas,
Super,
like
super alpha.
you're mine, babe, you mine, you. And she's like, fuck me. Well, but all they're like three alphas who all want her. They're all men, not wolves. I mean, they're just these three.
Uh-huh.
And she kind of, there's one, we know who the main couple is, but there's a moment where she's pissed at him, like she gets on the motorcycle with one of them when he's pissed at her,
Oh.
and then so like there are these like, but
Mm-hmm.
and I that was my least favorite series for that reason because I'm just like, can you just make it, like I don't know, even it's whichever the book is the guy with it's the one if you whoever's watching if you read them, I'm talking about the one with Hawk as the hero. His name is Hawk Delgado, and I love that whole series, but that one is at least my least favorite because I feel like that might be reverse harem without them
Mm-hmm.
actually doing
Getting
it.
to, yeah.
Because I don't know. I mean, I feel like I don't know if I could write that credibly. Because
You
I
could write all the romance tropes. I trust you. You can do accidental pregnancy. You can do menages. You can do foursomes. Like I trust you. And Dylan, we trust.
Oh, you're
You
so
can
sweet.
do it. I
You know what?
trust you.
That's
You
so
can
nice.
go.
Because Charles, I needed this because I'm always on the. I feel like no one. I don't know. I feel so like irrelevant. Not well. No, that's not true. I feel as if no one really knows, or knows who my books are everywhere, but as visible as they are, I don't get a lot. I don't get as many eyes on them as you would think, right? And I don't know what, but it's so nice to to talk to someone who really loves my series. This is so wonderful. Thank you so
And it's
much.
like you do something that I really appreciate. It's like you have amazing characters, amazing plot, but then also the steam is just right.
Yes,
Like when you can do your whole emotional. I remember, I think it was the second Signs of Love. Remember, I believe it's an audiobook, and like
yes,
they had that whole shower scene. I was like, it was like a
yes,
super, it was like a really well done story, and then like you hit the steam. I was like, okay, Dylan knows how to
yeah.
write really, really good steamy scenes. Like that's sometimes like I have to say, like sometimes I read some scenes, I'm like, what? Like what are you doing here? Like this is not it. I was like, I feel like the more you read
This
romance
is not
books, like the more you're like,
it.
this is not working. I'm like, this is not like something in here. It's like the character because I find like I really kind of believe that too is supposed to move along the plot. So like the character motivations have to be there, the characters have to be in the right place.
Yes,
So when you
yes,
actually get to it,
yes,
it doesn't have to be
yes.
necessarily overly explicit.
No,
But if they're in the right place, you're like, oh wow, that was like the best thing ever, and it can only be
I
a
think.
paragraph.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing is like I sometimes I feel like my scenes are so short or like they're not, but I also for me they are always a moment. Like it's never just ooh, my dick is hard and you're here. It is always
Hmm.
like I want to say something to you that maybe the words I want to say are not like enough, or I want to say it this way. Like it's always there's like a conversation, and it always, for me, I like there to be very clear consent.
Hmm.
That he has asked, is this okay? Like there's a very
Hmm.
clear like this is what's happening. It's not
Hmm.
no one's confused about what they are about to do, and
Hmm.
because that's really important. If you haven't read the third book in the Symbol series, which is called Release, is now called Best for Last. It's the one that's set in Ghana. It's the longest of
Oh,
the series, and it's my favorite in that series. But I find I find that sexy. I find men who um care about, and are impressed by and want a strong woman. Like I find
hmm,
that so sexy. I find men who are not intimidated by powerful women just the
hmm,
sexiest thing. Men who are actually turned on by it and
yeah,
who encourage it, who, like clap for it. Like that
hmm,
is my guys. I try sometimes to write to, give them a bit of a bite. And I think they all do, but never with their women,
hmm.
and except for Hayes, Hayes a little bit.
Oh, the way he talked to Confidence in the
I
beginning of that book, I was like, I
know.
feel personally offended for you, Confidence.
I
Like I would
know.
punch him too,
I
even
know.
though he'll
But
probably
he
pummel
thought
me
she was.
with his size.
I know. Well, he thought she was, and he was in a very sensitive place. He was,
Hmm.
he was going through some
He was
things
in
at
his
the
feels.
time.
He was in his feels.
He was in his feelings. He
I
was
was like,
feeling
poor
insecure
Confidence,
and
like has to
feeling.
go fall
I
off a
know.
ledge, and
I
then
know
he's
to
like, I don't
to,
want to
to go.
die with some random hot stranger who like
I
made me feel so bad.
I know, right? I know. And then she's like, send my body home. She's so funny. She's so dramatic. I was like, oh my God.
He was so extra. He was like, "You're not
I
going to die," and she's like,
I
"Oh my
know.
god, this is gonna be my last moments."
I know. I know. I love it. See, I'm so glad. I need to go back and read that again. You're making me remember. I love that scene. And it's so funny because people either love it or people hate it. They're like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever read. I mean, how dumb is she? And I'm always like, well, that actually, I mean, I did not fall over, but I nearly fell over. I nearly did, and it was only by the grace of God that I did not. But it
Mhm.
was very so. I mean, but it felt very authentic. Like it felt like as she walked, I could just see her, and it was raining the night of the wedding, just like it
Mhm.
was then. Everything was the same, and I was just like, this is, and it gave him a chance to be nice right away,
Mhm.
and to be sorry and to sort of like hear, like, to see for himself what a jerk he had been, and like, but
Yeah.
also, I mean, when they pull her up and he kissed her, I was like,
I was like,
oh, look at this.
oh.
Oh,
And then you just like slam the hammer down with that. I didn't see that reveal coming when I read it. I was just like, wait, how is someone
Oh,
gonna take his
yeah. Oh,
company?
with
Why is his
Gigi.
parentage in question? I was like, wait,
I
hold
know.
on. What's going on here? What? Like that
Yeah,
just
I
blew my
know.
mind, and I like how it
I know.
carries into Remy's story as well, and we actually get to
Yeah.
find the father. I was like, that's one story
Yeah.
too. I want to see his recovery and see if he
Yeah.
like a second chance with Gigi. Like, I'm sorry,
I
I
don't
could be like
know.
your co-writer in your head, like Dylan, what about this
You
story?
know what? The only reason I think I'm still mad at him. Like I love Tina so much
Mhm.
that I feel so mad at him. I don't even want him to be. I mean, he's back fine, but I just like maybe once I've taken care of her,
You can get
I
to him.
can I can think about him. But right now, to me, he's just there by the grace of their goodwill, and them, not being, being better people than him
Mhm.
because. Um, even if he was done dirty by his dad, but even if he hadn't been, she got a very raw deal. She got a
Yeah.
very, very raw deal. She got a very
Mhm.
raw deal. But I mean, she
Yeah.
didn't. You'll see her in the gathering. You'll see where she gets to.
Ooh.
Read it before
Because I
you read the
like
Daredevil. Read it before you read the Daredevil. The
the very
Daredevil's
okay.
coming out in a few months, so read that before the Daredevil.
I already pre-ordered it. I was like, I need this on my Kindle faster.
I think you're gonna love it. I love it. I think Dina is my favorite heroine of all my heroines.
That's something high to say because
I know, and it was just a
Regan's
short amount
clear
of time,
number
but you'll see
one.
why. Well, you'll see why. You'll see
Okay.
why. And maybe it's just because I'm right off that book, but she
Hmm.
is just.
Oh, but I love
Oh,
too how you
I
play with
love her.
like intergenerational like trauma between like what Tina goes through, it, like kind of is replicated for Regan as well with her marrying Marcel. And I
Yeah.
love how they have that moment, that heart to heart, where she's like, "You have more grace and courage than I ever would." Like by her
Mhm.
helping out the maid who's pregnant with
Mhm.
Marcel's child, and she
Yes.
was like,
Yeah.
"Maybe things could have been different if I didn't send Gigi away."
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
I was like
Yeah.
Tina, I'm like, and then turns around and just like slaps Tyson with the book. He's like, "No, you're not getting the company, and here's why." And Reagan's like,
Poor
tell him."
Tyson.
I was like, Tyson.
Tyson is poor Tyson. Poor Tyson. But you know what? Like he's gonna be okay because he's Tyson. Tyson is gonna be okay. He's really the most okay of them all because he was born that way. He's just really super. He's
Hmm.
super. He's super. I love him. I can't wait for y'all to meet him.
And his
I'm
friendship
ready, as
with
you can see.
Stone, I love that friendship that he
Yeah,
has with Stone. I was like,
yeah.
especially when he's like, when someone's like, didn't Tyson like text you and say like that was me? And she's like, what? Like what? I like how Ray was just like taking it back, like, what does Tyson have to do with this? Like he's very protective.
I
What are you talking
know.
about?
Wasn't that funny
That
when
was
she
so funny.
realized it was when he called her Captain Obvious? I had such a laugh when just writing her getting out of the bed, jumping up and
Hmm.
like, no, this cannot be
Yeah.
happening.
Like Stone just worked for me because like after Rian's like no, sorry, we can't be together. Stone's like no. I'm like, is there so many points where like I thought he would just go, okay, I'm gonna give her a space. He's like, nope. As soon as I'm like,
No.
okay, you need 2 months, I'll be right back in 2 months.
In 2 months, I'll be
In two
right
months, I'll be
back.
right back, right here where we
He's my
started. I'm like,
thing. Isn't he wonderful though? I mean, I love that. I love she needed that. I feel like, she
mm-hmm.
needed to be pursued because like she didn't have
She
that
got a
early
raw
in her years.
deal.
Yeah, and like that's what I'm saying. It's like, and I know women like that. That's the thing is like I know women who are not happily, and I'm like, you just want, and you look at them and you think they have everything. They're beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But they go home and it's so sad. And like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is like when there are all the wages of all the blessings that we have, wages of love, wages of beauty, wages of money, everything has a cost. And I just want to humanize people. I want to show, and I also want to show Black people in different lights, right? Like I want to
Mm-hmm.
show us, because there's so many different Black experiences. Actually, I was talking to someone about this yesterday that like I feel like there is one common Black experience, one thing that we all
Mm-hmm.
experience as Black people, which is the
Mm-hmm.
second class citizenship, the like
Mm-hmm.
that but then there are the Black circumstances that make that experience different, right? So some
Mhm.
of us are immigrants, some of us are descendants of slaves, some of us are
Mhm.
from, like whether however we came here, some of us have come from more privileged upbringing. So we all have all these different. Some of us grew up in all white areas, some of us grew in all black.
Mhm.
So it
Mhm.
is, and I want to show as many of those experiences as I can. But I want to show some of mine too, which is
Mhm.
as a immigrant and someone who grew, and I feel like that's its own experience. And I want to show people who look different than what romance always looked like to me, getting their
Mhm.
happily ever after.
And you do that in spades. Like that's why this series feels so special because
Oh, thank you.
like it's I guess like you've seen like your whole billionaire trope and like it's a huge trope in romance, but I love what you do with the characters and that's what sets your stories apart because
Oh,
like your
thank
characters are
you.
so fully fleshed out. Like I can literally just go like just imagine them in my head just like having a random conversation and I just know what each of them
What
would
they would
say.
say.
That's how well they're defined. Like you can go
Oh
back
my
and you reread
God.
them and you just
What? That is the best.
like I love I and the audiobooks are so good. I was
Yes.
like
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
could just like
yeah.
I'm an audiobook listener first, but like even if I didn't have the audiobooks, like your writing is so strong as well. So I'm
Oh,
like
thank you.
I was like
Thank
Sound of Temptation. I was like, you're putting me through the ringer, but I like the writing, so I'm gonna trust you, Dylan. Like I was like,
Thank you. I
I'm
know,
gonna
and
get
I
through this
promise I'm gonna.
400 page book.
I won't. I know I will not. I will never do that to y'all again. Not for a long time anyway, because it was hard. I know, but it was also worth it. I feel like I'm glad I wrote it. I'm not sorry I did. And I think that but I also know what you mean. Like if angst is not your thing, and I think my readers like a little bit of tension. They like their
Mhm,
tension. They like, but that was another level. So, Rivers Wild, I feel like I like, and that's my lane. I enjoyed writing the
mhm,
Daredevils as much as I enjoyed writing the Jezebel, as much as I enjoyed writing the Legend, as much as I love writing that world. So,
mhm.
I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to stay there, and I'm planning, little spin-offs inside Rivers Wild. So
Yes, if you could just give me 10 more books for Regan and Stone, I will be very happy.
really, oh,
I
Reagan and
just love them
Stone.
so like I did not expect for me to fall so hard. But like the whole scene when they were a child when they were children, I was like, I'm sold.
Yeah,
I was like, and then
yeah,
she's a single
yeah,
mother. I was like, with her three
yeah,
kids. I was like,
yeah.
I'm done. Like you hit
The
like
three
all my
kids.
book. Like I'm a sucker for like having kids in romance books. And I was like, I loved it. Like how the daughter knew what Reagan was going through. I was like,
Yeah, when she says be happy, I was like, oh, look
I
at
was
that.
like, I was
Kids
like,
are so.
stop. I was like, stop! You're making me cry.
Oh, yay, Charles, you're making my day. Thank you so much. It's so great. So it's fun to talk about these because I guess I should do more book clubs. I was actually going to do a group read of the Legacy because it's about to be as leading up to the Daredevils coming out. I'm gonna have it free and be doing lots of things with it. So I might, and
Ooh.
now I feel like I might need to have a group read because this is fun.
I'm 100% down to reread these books because I absolutely love them. I was just
Really?
rereading the
Oh,
Jezebel
thank
for like
you.
the third time, but then
No
I had like
way.
20 minutes left, and then my friend called me, and I was like, okay. I was like,
Where do
why'd
you
you have to
live?
call me? I was
Sorry,
like,
is this okay for you to say? What part of the
sorry,
country do you live in? What part of
I'm
the
in
country do you live
Northern
in?
Virginia.
Oh, okay. Oh, I used to live in Silver Spring. My kids were born in Silver Spring and Rockville.
Oh,
I went to Howard Law School, so I was in DC and I went to Howard Law School, and then after Howard Law, I left and I came back. My husband used to work for Washington Gas, and I worked at
uh-huh.
DCPS. We were both, yeah. So that's my I know
That's your neck of the
Nova.
woods. Like
Yeah, when
you
I can live.
understand
I
the
miss it
DMV.
so much. I'm in Texas now, but I miss DC so much, so much. You've been here for 6 years. I miss it. My kids are
Yeah,
both born there. I miss that. I miss the
hey,
GW Parkway. I never thought I'd say that.
everyone knows the DMV is the best place to be, but I can't even say that because I'm originally from Chicago, and so
Oh, are
Chicago will
you?
always be number one in my
Where in
heart.
Chicago did you grow up?
I was in the South. I was in South Side, so around South Holland, Orland Park. Like it's like I'm
That's just
not in the city, but
okay.
I'm like close enough to the city where I can just say I'm Chicago.
Yeah, no, my sister lives on East Algonquin near the airport, near
Mm-hmm.
um
What was the airport
near one of
name?
the
O'Hare.
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 Yeah, there was two there. Not there's
O'Hare
two, but near
Midway.
O'Hare. Yeah, she lived near O'Hare, and for years too. Before they moved here as well. But yeah, anyway, yeah. Well, nice to know.
Oh,
I was just wondering. Just
yeah.
wondering. So, do you go to
I
Polycon? Have you been to book signings and stuff?
no, like I feel
Mm,
bad. Like I love my ebooks
mm,
and audiobooks. So I'm
mhm.
like, I was like, can you give me the ebook? Because I love them. I have like a bunch of like books like in my room that I just have, but like
Yeah,
once they go there, I'm like, do you have an audiobook? I was like, okay,
yeah.
we're gonna put you on the back burner for a little.
No,
So
I hear
I'm the
you.
worst at physically reading books, but I like them for pictures on my
Yeah, me
Instagram. So
too.
like that's why I
Me
collect
too.
them.
Those are just my books. I'm redoing my office's mess. If you could see beyond that little snapshot, you would be horrified. My computer is very strategically placed to make it look like
Mhm.
it's not a bomb hasn't gone off in here.
It's all about perspective, what you allow us to see.
Well,
But I did
what you
have a
can see are my
question.
books. Yes.
So how far in advance do you have planned for the River Wilds world? Like do you have like already books that you're currently writing after the Daredevil comes out that you're
Yeah, I
looking
mean,
to
I,
publish
I, I'm,
soon?
t I'm, I've just finished the Daredevil. I'm taking a bit. I'm on a break, just like
Hmm.
because I've been writing for like 18 months straight. So I had to
Wow.
but I'm plotting it out. I've built this Rivers Wild world, this universe, and I've built these galaxies. And so these first four books, that's the Jezebel, the Legacy, the Legend, and the Daredevil, and the Gathering, which is like the novella, are in
Hmm.
this collection I call the Rivals. The next collection, I believe, do not quote me on this, and please don't be mad if it's not right. I think it's going to be called the Royals, and the reason that will be is that I'm heading off with a character who is going to be a sort of deposed and exile heir to a throne somewhere else that
Oh,
lives in Rivers Wild. So then we're gonna like have a little cluster there. I know. I don't know. We'll see. Secret baby and everything. Just see.
I'm going
Let's
to
just see.
be
I'm
like
trying to figure out
stalking
how to.
your social medias, just like see whatever clues you post. I'm like, okay, is this the book that
Well,
she's talking
I
about?
that
Are we
book
getting
will
close
be
to
whatever
re-release?
it is. It's going to be the. I'm writing another book for 1001 Dark Nights, which is where the Daredevils are. So that will be the hopefully the kickoff to that whole new little cluster, and I'm hoping to be writing them this year as I'm also writing some other things. So we'll see. I mean, I wish I could write faster, and I'm actually trying. I was on the phone with Nana Malone yesterday, trying to like because she's a super whiz fast
I love
writer, and I'm like,
Nana.
teach me your. She's
She's
amazing,
amazing.
amazing, so talented. Got her craft down, got her technique. So
Hmm.
I was like, teach me. I need like a system so I can hit all my writing goals. I have all these stories I want to write, all these things I want to do, but I only have these 10 fingers and these shoulders. And so I'm trying to, just, and so yeah, no, because there's so many stories I want to tell in Rivers Wild and elsewhere. I want to tell, yeah. So I mean, but I planned out. I plan to write in this world for as long as I'm writing romance, right? So whether it
Yes.
is from because I love it there, and I think y'all do too,
Hmm.
and I think there's so much to do there, right? And we don't
Hmm.
always have to be in Rivers Wild for it to be a Rivers Wild book, right? So
Hmm.
I feel like I've given myself so much freedom in setting them up that way. So I'm gonna write there as long as y'all want me to, and I know y'all and it'll be nice to see the Easter eggs of the characters from the first
Hmm.
books. So I'm excited. Yay! Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
that's what I'm
so I'm
doing.
so excited. I'm so excited. Like as long as like Regan gets name dropped, I'm gonna be looking. I'm like, is it like what is Regan doing in this timeline? I was like, let me ask Dylan. I was like, where is Regan?
Oh, I love you. You'll see them all. You'll see them in the Daredevil,
Devil.
Reagan
And
and
are there
Stone.
and then are any other like tropes or like different type of subgenres within romance that you want to tackle, like romantic suspense, maybe some fantasy?
I would love to write fantasy. I would love to write. I
Okay.
know I'm not but that would be if I could if I thought I was if I thought I could do it,
You
I
can
would
do it.
absolutely write. I would write like an order or something, like some
Hmm.
order of of magical
Hmm.
beings that like I would create a world, but they wouldn't I wouldn't make them necessarily fairies or vampires, but they would have, because I don't know, but I would, yes, I would love that. It would, and I think it would be contemporary, and I think they would be just as like, but I would, yes, if I could. You know what?
You
I don't know,
can.
Charles.
I
I
was like,
don't know.
I was
It's
like,
like a
I'm
thing I
trying to
want
get
to
you. I'm trying to get
try.
like, just say paranormal. Just write. Just give us a
Yeah.
paranormal. Like you're
Like,
almost there.
so what kind of
Just add vampire.
what's your favorite paranormal series? Tell me.
Presley Cole and Mortals After Dark is like,
Baby, come to me. Come, let's run away together because
let's.
me. Listen, if you could have said a lot of other, there's some really good ones, but that one is my soulmate series.
Like what she
Listen,
does. I was like,
Immortals After Dark. That's what I'm talking about. Like that's what I that if I could, maybe not quite as because her mind is like. Have you read them
mhm.
all?
No, I have two more left that I'm reading.
You haven't read The Abyss. So that's the when you read it, you're
I'll
gonna be
circle back.
you'll be so sad it's over because she has not written another one in years. That one came out
Hmm.
like I think 2019, and she hasn't released another one. And like I'm dying for it. But that like I the level of like the steam,
Steam.
the they're all enemies to lovers, they're all fated mates. Like for
Hmm.
me, yes, that is my
Hmm.
catnip. I love star-crossed lovers. So yeah, I mean, if I could, that would be it. I would definitely write paranormal or fantasy. I mean, magic. I
Hmm.
would love that. I don't know if I'm smart enough. I don't know if I can
You
if
can
I
do
can do
it.
that.
You can do it. Like I
I don't
believe
know,
in
because those people
you.
are smart. Oh,
I was
thank
like,
you. I
but
mean,
you
I you know
handle like
I
such heavy issues in some of your books. I'm like, you
do
could
I.
easily do it. Like I
You
would
think
say,
so?
the whole like murderous grandfather thing type
Oh,
situation. With
like,
Beth,
oh man.
getting in that car accident and losing, she had an
Oh,
atopic
Beth.
pregnancy.
I
Like that. I
know.
was like,
Yeah.
oh, I was like
Yeah.
going through divorce and like how to navigate like a toxic relationship. I was like, you handle some really like hefty issues
Yeah.
that could go like really wrong, but you do it so well. So I'm like, you could do like I can see you. I can
Oh.
see Hayes and Remy and Stone all being vampires. Like you could like I can see
Oh,
the
like,
fan fiction
would you bare your neck? Would you be like, here, but here?
like here.
Listen, Lothair is like when Lothair listen, has there ever been anything else like him ripping out his heart, putting it in a box, and sending it to her? I'm like, who could ever top that gesture ever? I mean, the most tortured, brokenhearted thing. I mean, you can only write that kind of thing, and you can't write that in a regular romance.
No,
Like no one can actually.
they'll be dead.
That's what I'm saying. The license that gives you for me is just like, I mean, and you can cross all sorts of boundaries in those books that you cannot. And I really very like. There's a series by um uh Mel Jean Brooks is her other name. She writes it's a Barbarians series. Have you read it? It was so popular.
Oh,
Mila Vane. Mila
a heart
Vane.
of blood and no, it's a heart of
Yes,
something.
yes, yes,
The
yes,
heart
something
of
like that.
something.
Have you read them?
I read the first one. They're long, Dylan. I was like,
Listen, the second one, it's a chase, baby. It's a chase. It's a second chance. He is, and it's a slow burn. Okay. But for
oh,
me, it was my favorite. And
oh, really?
Kennedy and I like she wasn't her, but it was so if you like a slow burn, you like second chances, if you like a chase, you like a reluctant heroine and a guy who is just like ready to lay it all on out for her. I love those books. And but for me it's like that's what I mean. It's like she writes a very different thing under one pen name.
Hmm.
And then she writes this and it's so different, but it works. I love like the freedom,
Hmm.
for so I
Hmm.
might try something. I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know when I have the time. I'm like, I wake up and then I look up and it's like 5 o'clock already. No, like I blinked and is the day is gone. But I want to. I have so many. Thank you for this has been I keep on saying thank you, but this has been so nice to like talk hopefully and excitedly about writing because it can feel very like
Mhm.
you know
Yeah.
hard and all thank you. This is nice.
No, thank you. Like, and I'm low-key just trying to get you to write a paranormal. So
Are you
I'm like
so
nudging
what is
you.
it?
I'm like nudging
I'm
you
gonna
towards that.
you've really planted a seed. You've really planted a seed that has but I think it was there. You've watered it.
Hmm.
You've watered it. Thank you. I'm thinking about it, now I'm like,
Hmm.
maybe I can
Like
start it in my
paranormal, just
newsletter
like
or something.
it just catches my eye. If you say like anything like quasi paranormal, it can be like demigods or something. I'm like, tell me more. Like what? Tell me more. Is it like Cressley Cole? I'm like, okay, I'm immediately gonna buy you.
No, I'm sorry. Those books are so this.
Those books are so addicting. Like I
They're
love
perfect,
Nyx. I
dude. To
love the
me, they're perfect.
Valkyrie.
I love Nyx. Nyx and her. That's what I'm saying. Her book. She's with Orion. She and Orion, I think, are going to be I want her book. She hasn't written it yet. And I'm like, please, Cressley
I was
Cole,
like, come on,
give
Cressley. Like if
us,
you were an indie,
give
the
us
series would
Nyx.
be done already.
I know. Give us Nyx. Give us Nyx. So I want that story so bad. Nyx, and there's another one. The one, um, his name is Sin in the book, Abyssin, whatever, Abyssin, the guy
Oh,
who's
mm-hmm,
the demon. So he's the
mm-hmm.
last one, but there's one after. There's some, but I really want Nyx's book so bad.
Me too. That's gonna be. It's like
Mm.
teased a little bit in Lothair too. Like Lothair makes because like I didn't expect them to be friends. I was like, what?
I
I was like,
know, and it's so
Nyx
great
and
that they
Lothair. I
are
was
the
like,
enemy of old and Nyx. I know, but I love that whole. I love Regan. Regan's book is my favorite.
oh, that's the Torture Island book.
That's That's the one where she's in the yeah, and like they operate
Yeah.
on her, and
Mm-hmm.
she when Regan cries, I mean, listen to in the audio, she cried.
Mm-hmm.
I cried when she cried because I was like, if Regan is crying, she has been broken all the way
Mm-hmm.
down, and oh, anyway, I
But
love that series.
how can you forget about Sabine? Like I have a like Sabine Kiss of the Demon King with
Oh, I
like
mean,
the dedication to that book was just epic.
what was the dedication?
It was like Sabine's a bitch, but she's my bitch. Um,
Man,
I th-
Sabine, and she tortured her guy, right? She kept
mhm.
him, and she, but
I love Sabine. Like I
I
read that
loved it.
book, I
I
was
love her
like,
too. I love her
this is the
too.
heroine I need in every single romance book. Like I
Is
love
that
her.
right? Oh, so yeah. See, I see. I feel like the heroines get such a hard, like they're not allowed to mess up. People are so hard
Hmm.
on them, and I love redemption. I love giving someone who may not deserve it, but finds the person who loves them anyway.
Hmm.
And that's what's so great about Fate and Mate. It's like it doesn't matter how bad they are, there is somebody for them.
Hmm.
And that's I love it. I love it. I love it.
I
Immortals at the
loved it.
darkest
Like
perfection.
it's like I love that character so much. I think she appears in the book before Regan's book with that heroine. I can't remember the
Is
heroine
that
of
her
that book's
sister?
name.
Is it her
It's
sister? It's her sister, right? That she is her sister is being has a shifter
mhm.
lover, right?
Yeah, I think
Right?
so.
Right, right, right.
I know like
Mm.
there's a point where they're supposed to fight because like she does something that Sabine doesn't like, and like she's like, "Oh no, Sabine, I would never fight you. You would beat me." And it's like comment how her vain, like how her pride and her she's so pride, like she's so full of pride and
Yeah,
so vain, and Sabine
yeah.
just goes like, "Oh yeah, that is very true. Consider the beef settled." I was like,
Yeah.
I just like that book. I was like, some of
I-
the choices that she made.
yeah.
She's like, "Should I go save that kid that's drowning? Let's think about that, or should I escape?" I was like,
I know, I know. See, that is the mark of a great. See,
Mhm.
that is aspirational. That's what I want to. That's what I want to create. Is something that people can sit around and talk about the characters and laugh at them and like and talk about even though they're may have not been great, but like that's wonderful. See, critical. That's
See,
goals.
but
I
you
want to
do
write.
it
I
with
want to.
yours. I think everyone who has read the River Wild series like are already talking about the characters. Like I
Oh,
love the
yay!
characters so much. Like I have my favorites, but like I just love that whole world. and the
Thank
characters that are
you.
popular in the world, even the characters that I don't like. I was like Marcel. I'm like, that could be.
I
I was like, I
know.
don't like him, but like that could be a redemption book.
It could be.
I was like,
I,
that
I
could be a
haven't ruled
redemption
that
book.
out. I haven't ruled it out. I haven't ruled. That's why I made them make up a little bit because I haven't ruled it out. I also, in the Side of Temptation, I have Duke and Fiona and Bridget, his little spy girl.
Hmm.
Oh, wait, Bridget. Oh, you have a okay. So you remember Duke and Fiona? So
Hmm.
I have a story for them, not for them, but they are going to appear in another
And that,
story,
ooh,
and we'll see them. That's when they will get there. They'll get what's coming to them then. But I have
okay.
plans for them. I actually wrote them they are from a story I started writing, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, and then
Hmm.
they were secondary characters in that story. So I brought them over here to kind of get to know them a little bit because I want to get back to that story. So many
Ooh.
stories,
We're getting so many great teases. Like, I just can't wait to see what comes next. Like, we know already know the Daredevil's coming the soonest, but like
Yes,
anything after that,
yes.
I'm gonna eagerly be waiting. I'm like, Dylan, where's the next book? I was like, let me
I have
refresh this
not.
Amazon page.
This is the first time I have not known, except for I know that I'm writing another Rivers Wild book for 1001 Dark Nights.
Hmm.
But I have some things I want to pitch. I want to pitch for traditional publishing that are own voices stories about Ghanaian American women. Like I want to write like kind of rom-commy. I'm pitching them as Americana meets Crazy Rich Asians. Have you read Americana by
Oh,
Chimamanda?
ooh,
Chimamanda. I have
yes.
makeup under my nail. Yeah, that. So I have those. If I sell them, then those will come because they are a little less like they're more realistic and a little less
Mhm.
escapey, but also a little lighter as well. So
Mhm.
those things. I have lots of things I'm working on. I have so many stories inside of me. But Rivers Wild is Dylan Allen. There are endless things coming, and I just, I'm really excited about getting the chance to sit down and write them, and just bringing that world even more to life.
Mhm.
So thank you
And
so
I'm
much for
excited as
giving
a
that.
reader. I'm so excited as a reader to just see what you have coming down next. Because I was like, I finally feel like you're like one of the authors that I love. That I'm like, I am in danger of like running out of books to read from you. I'm like, I have to go back and reread books. I was like,
Oh,
I'm
that's
actually caught up.
so.
I was like, I feel good, but I also feel like, oh no.
Oh
I was like,
no,
okay, let's go
no,
read the
there's more
Jezebel again.
coming. Let's go. Yes, it's always. I'm so glad that you have a place to go back to reread. But there is more coming. There's more, and I want it to be great. And that's what really everything is in service of, creating stories. I'm refining my editing process. There's so many things I've learned, as I've. So but I'm only taking a breather so I can come back better and give y'all even more, and just, in a way that is good for both of us. And I'm
Yeah.
excited, and it's so good to know that y'all want it, that you are,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
looking forward to it. It's so nice to know. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem. But thank you again. And I also want to ask you, this is going to be a tough question. And it's also the
Okay.
final question. So, what are some of your favorite
Okay.
romance books slash authors? I give you a little out. You can say authors if you can't name specific books. But what romance books are like your all-time favorite or some that you have just been loving really recently?
So I just finished Real by Kennedy Ryan, who is one of my
Oh,
unicorn authors of my whole life.
you have so lucky.
She's my best friend. She's my best friend, and so she sent me the audio, and I got to listen to it. And I mean, it's so hard. It's hard sometimes to be because I'm like, girl, you really are. You are really good at this. This is not, It's like
Hmm.
it's such an amazing. I mean, I am a huge fan of hers. Like Grip from the Soul series, Grip, her
Hmm.
Bennett series, the Hoops. They're all my favorites. I love right now. I'm loving Talia Hibbert's books. I am loving Joan Bassor's books, her Black series. It is a historical romance series. It's fantastic. I mean, old school romance. Like I always still go back and read Kristen Ashley. We talked about
Hmm.
Cressley Cole. I
Hmm.
am like I'm discovering N.K. Jemisin
Hmm.
changed my whole game. Um, I Gianna Darling. I
Hmm.
I devour her books. I don't know if you read her, but I love her
Yeah.
books. Danielle Allen is Brittany Cherry, QB Tyler, and um, Carmel Rhodes and Danielle James are three up and coming romance authors. I love their words. I love their voices. Oh my God, I love Ginger Scott. I love Emma Scott. I love Lauren Rowe. I mean, I'm a voracious romance reader. I
Mhm.
love Sierra Simone. I'm, a huge old school historical romance. Loretta Chase is my favorite.
Mhm.
So is Laura Kinsale. I mean, I could talk if I could talk about books all day and we would never ever finish. But I mean, I just think whatever you read something
Mhm.
and read a book that is, like I mean, I know that everybody puts something into their stories, but I'm really interested in authors who are always trying to outdo themselves and tell a better
Mhm.
story. And, so I'm
Mhm.
all the authors I just mentioned are people who I would recommend without any question, any book at any time that they've ever written. If you read it, I
Mhm.
know you will have a great experience and one that you will not forget the names of their characters, one where you'll want to reread, and that book will give you joy many times over. So and that's what I look for in a good book. So those are some of mine. I mean, you don't have to ever worry about me not having anything to say because I'm a bookworm through and
That's
through.
good. Like you can provide some direction to my hot mess of a TBR. Like I have no rhyme or reason.
Yeah, and
I
it's
just
hard
go
not to. It's
all.
hard to. There's so many books. I mean, it's very hard to know. But I mean, I think that like I'm always looking for great storytelling and great writing,
Mhm.
and when I find it, I shout about it. So
Yeah, and those are some really great recommendations. I'm super jealous that you got to read Real by Kennedy Ryan. Like I pre-ordered that as soon as the links went up. I
you
was like,
just wait.
Kennedy,
You
I
have
was
to
like,
get
give
the
me this book
audio.
right now. I got the
You
audio. I
have
was
to
like,
get the
Kennedy, you're
audio.
not gonna do
The
this. You're not gonna
audio
wait like months
is
later for like
it.
the Queen Move audio to drop. I'm like, Kennedy, I already
No.
read Queen
And that
Move
wasn't
because
even
the
her
audio took
though.
so long.
She didn't publish that one. That was because she did that one was their publisher, so she didn't have control. But it is coming. It is divine. There is music. She wrote entire songs that she also then composed, and like there's music and singing. The girl sang her ass off. The woman and the actress who she hired. There's a screenplay and a story within the story, and those points of view are this actor. Listen, she is not playing with y'all. And if y'all don't buy this book and read it, I will not be playing with you because I won't talk to you anymore. It's so good. It is the best book of the year, hands down. I
Okay.
said it.
Oh, mic drop. Mic drop right now.
Best
This is
book of
coming
the
from
year.
Dylan Allen. Like you guys, go and pre-order Real by Kennedy Ryan. You will.
Best book of the year. I said it.
She like I
That's
already
it.
love her from Long Shot and then The Grip and then Queen Move. Like I just like I'm like Kennedy Ryan can do no wrong. Like she can write
She can do
whatever
no
she wants.
wrong.
I
She
will read it.
can.
It
Me
could
too.
be it could just be anything. It could be just about a piece of grass and I would read it. I
Me
would read the
too.
book
I
because
will
like
read it and
the writing
and
would
my
be
life will be lifted. Yep. Yep. That's it. That's it. Yeah, we have to make sure she sees it. She'll get it. She'll be like, "Oh my God, you're so crazy." She doesn't believe it when I say it. She's just like, "You're just saying it." I'm like, "Okay."
okay. No, 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 no. I was like, oh no.
Like, you have
I was
greatness and
like, you and
dysmorphia, but
Kenny are
okay.
like some like really great romance writers that are doing amazing things in the
Oh,
space. Or writing great characters, great stories. Because I feel like sometimes with romances, you kind of can get away from like the actual like love story part of it, and you just get into
mhm.
lust. And I find like
Yeah.
when all the drama happens, I usually call it like the third act obstacle that breaks the couple up. I'm like, okay, now here's miscommunication. Okay, now she's gonna run
Right.
away, and then we're gonna have to wait two chapters, and then they're like, oh, it's a big misunderstanding, and then voila, we get a happily ever after. Like I can see that when I get into that mode, I'm like, I see right through the plot. I want to be taken along the story. I want to believe in the romance. I want to believe in the characters, and like your books do
Me
that
too.
so much, and the
Yeah.
characters are
Well,
just
I'm so
amazing.
glad because I ask myself why. I do the same thing when I'm writing. When I get to a
Mhm.
point, and my husband doesn't understand because I'm like, I'll tell him the whole story. It's great, and I'm like, no, but why would they do that? Why wouldn't they just talk to each other? Why wouldn't they just like why like in the Sound of Temptation when
Mhm.
that first misunderstanding? I had to make because when Carter, it's like, why didn't he just ask her? And when I
Mhm.
made it to when they saw each other again, she asked him that because it was so like, but I think it was also very believable at his age,
Mhm. Mhm.
given where he was in his life, where
Mhm.
who the source of information was, right? But
Was.
still, I completely agree. I mean, I think that, I feel like if you are not going to just pick up the phone and make a phone, and ask if it's easy, if it's as easy as that.
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't, I'm, I, I don't, yeah, then I don't care. I don't care either. Yeah, you don't care. I don't care. I don't care either. I don't care what happens to y'all. And I stop reading because I need y'all to make an effort. And I need there to be a really good reason,
Mhm.
whether it is an obstacle or an emotional one, I need there to be a really good reason why you pushed that person who is so right for you
Mhm.
away.
Away. Mhm. Unless you
Yeah.
bring in a new love interest, and I'm like, okay, now we can. Now I haven't seen that done yet. Like changing love interest halfway through the book. I was like, it could be a thing. Like it could be a thing that
I
can
think
be
it would be a
done.
thing, Charles. I'm thinking about it. There's something in there. Like, I don't know. There's a story in me that has that happen, but I don't know
Mhm.
it yet. But yeah, I think that could be.
That could be a really interesting story, and like make a lot of romance readers angry if they don't finish the book.
I know.
They'll be
I
like,
know. So
"What do you mean
that's
they don't get together?" I'm like, "Oh
I
no, you have
know.
to keep on reading.
That's
There's a
the
whole
thing.
new
That's
love
why I'm saying it may
interest."
not be. I'm thinking about trying things in my newsletter that I would never sell, but like just to try them, to write stories. I know that no one, people would be like, what the hell? But there are some people who would be like, oh,
Like I see what you did there. I'm like,
yeah,
I
I
was
like
like, you
it.
could go like a
Because I
whole
just,
like it
just to
wasn't the
indulge
right
that,
love. Yeah,
right, right. Just to indulge that creative side. So,
yeah. But thank you so much, Dylan, for coming on my channel. Like I
oh,
love
thank
talking to you. Like
you.
you are
I love
always
talking
welcome
to
back on
you.
my channel. Like I have some other
Thank
YouTuber
you.
friends that absolutely love your books as well. I was like,
Really? Oh my God. Tell
this
them
is
thank you. I
there's a
love
ton.
y'all. I
We're
need
like
to
all
find
sending
you.
love. We want to read. We want
Oh, I
more
love
books.
you
We want more
back.
people to read your books because they're absolutely
Oh, bless
amazing. The
you.
audios for
Oh,
your books
thank
are
you.
absolutely amazing as well. So I'm like,
Thank
you guys go
you.
check out
Thank
Dylan
you.
Allen. I will leave all our social media links down in the description box below as well. Links you can so you can go and buy the River Wilds books. Like you can get them all in one collection. So that
Look
definitely
at
saves you some
you.
money. So I'm like, I'm
Thank
plugging away
you.
for you, Dylan. So all
Thank
those links will be
you.
down below in the description box. But thank you again so much, Dylan, for coming on my channel. And I'll
It's
catch you
my
guys with a brand new
pleasure.
video. Bye,
All right.
everyone.
Bye, everybody.